Lesson 83, coin problems. We're going to learn to do a new type of word problems. Coin problems are pretty simple because you follow the same pattern every time. Some students have tried to do these in their head, and in the beginning you can do them in your head because it's not that hard to figure out how many nickels and dimes equals a certain amount, but that's not going to serve you in the future because they're going to get more difficult, and unless you know how to do the procedure, you're going to be stuck. So don't do these in your head, learn the procedure. Okay, these are called coin problems, and you'll notice before we were doing problems with numbers of dimes and or n sub d's, n sub n's. Remember the subscripted variables? We would have n sub d's and we would have some n sub n's. The reason we did the subscripts was so that when we do word problems, when we see these variables with subscripts, they make sense to us. Like n sub d is going to stand for number of dimes. N sub n is going to stand for numbers of nickels, and n sub q will stand for numbers of quarters. It just makes it easier to keep track of what your variables stand for. So let's try these problems. There's 3 examples, shouldn't take too long. Jack and Benny have 28 coins that are nickels and dimes. If the value of these coins is $1.95, how many coins of each type do they have? Well, there's a procedure that we can do to make these problems very easy. We're going to do 2 equations. The first equation is going to have to do with just how many coins we have. So we have 28 coins. So our first equation is simply going to do with how many coins we have. So it has nothing to do with the value. We know nickels are worth 5 cents and dimes are worth 10 cents. The first equation is just the number of coins. This one's just going to be the number of coins. Nothing to do with the value of the coins. The first one's just the number of coins. So we have nickels. So the number of nickels plus the number of dimes, just talking coins, if you just put the coins on the table and you counted your nickels, you counted your dimes, the total of nickels and dimes are going to be 28. First equation has nothing to do with how much a nickel is worth, how much a dime is worth. It just has to do with how many coins there are. The next one is going to be our value equation. So this is going to be the value, has nothing to do with the number there. This one's just going to be the value of the coins. So we have to assign a value for them. So nickels are worth 5 cents each. So we can move our decimal points over. Nickels are going to be worth 5 cents. Instead of writing 0.05, we're going to move the decimal over on every term, so it's just going to have no decimals. So we're going to say 5 times the number of nickels. How much are dimes worth? They're worth 10 cents. So it would be worth 0.10, and we're going to move our decimal point over 2 places to get rid of the decimal, plus 10 times the number of dimes, and that's going to be equal to your value. So the first number here is just the number of coins. The second one is the value of coins. This is $1.95. And we're going to do the same thing. We're going to move the decimal point over 2 places so we don't have any decimals. As long as you do it to every term, that's perfectly fine. Now, we're going to do elimination. You can do substitution or elimination. I prefer to do elimination. So I'm going to multiply this first equation by -5 to eliminate the nickels. So we're going to get -5 n sub n minus 5 n sub d equals -140. And the second equation, we don't have to multiply it by anything, because when we add it to the first equation multiplied by -5, the nickels are going to add out. And we add these up. And we're going to get 5. These subtract from each other, so we get 5 number of dimes equals 55. And so the number of dimes is going to equal 11. That's the first one. And then we have to go back and figure out how many, if this is 11, number of dimes is 11. So that means our number of nickels is going to be 17. So the number of nickels equals 17. So you have to go back, substitute it into the easiest equation. So 17 plus 11 equals 28. And that is how you do a coin problem. They get slightly more difficult, so let's look at the next one. Not too bad yet. They build up by Algebra 2. So now we have Ming. She has $4.45 in quarters and dimes. She has 8 more quarters than dimes. How many coins of each type does she have? Okay, the new part here is she has 8 more quarters than dimes. So let's just start with the value of our equations. So first of all, we know that the number of quarters is equal to the number of dimes plus 8. So we know that. So keep that in mind. So let's just do our problem. Let's just do, we don't have anything with, like the last problem it said the number of quarters and the number of dimes equals 15 or whatever. This one we don't have anything that tells us how many coins we have. This is the only equation that we have without value. So she has 8 more quarters and dimes, so we have to add the 8 to the dimes to balance the equation to equal the number of quarters. Now we can do our value equation. So we have $4.45. So the number of, we have quarters and dimes. So it's going to be, let's do the dimes first. 10 times the number of dimes. This is our value equation. This is with the number of coins. This one is number of coins. Has nothing to do with how much they're worth. It just tells us that we have 8 more quarters and dimes. This one, on the other hand, has to do with the value of the coins. So let's try this again. So 10 times the number of dimes, because each dime is worth 10 cents. A quarter is worth 25, so it's 25 the number of quarters, equals our value, which they give us right here, is $4.45. Move our decimal point over. So we just get 4.45. And now this is a substitution problem, obviously. So we're going to take this, number of quarters equals number of dimes plus 8, and we're going to substitute it right in there where it says number of quarters. So we get 10 times the number of dimes plus 25 times the number of dimes plus 8 equals 445. And we're going to simplify this guy out. So we're going to get 10 number of dimes, we'll go through this quickly, plus 25 number of dimes, plus 200 equals 445. We get 35 number of dimes. My D's look like O's. Let's subtract 200 from both sides very quickly here. So we're going to get equals 245. Divide both sides by 35. And it comes out evenly. If it doesn't come out evenly, you did something wrong, at least in Algebra 1. So you get number of dimes equals 7. And then we take that number and we put it up here where it says number of dimes. So we're going to get number of quarters equals 7 plus 8. So the number of quarters equals 15. Oops. All right. So that one's a little bit more complicated. Just remember you have your number of coin row and then you have your value row. Let's try one more. Orlando had a board of 22 nickels and dimes whose value was a board? A hoard. Huh, that should be an H. That's funny. So say that doesn't make any sense. Orlando had a hoard of 22 nickels and dimes whose value was $1.35. How many coins of each type did he have? Okay, this is more similar to the first one. So he has a hoard of 22 nickels and dimes. So the first one is just your number of coins. Nothing to do with value, just number of coins. So we have 22 nickels and dimes. So the number of nickels plus the number of dimes equals 22. The next one is your value equation. So how much is a nickel worth? It's 5 times the number of nickels plus 10 times the number of dimes equals 135. These aren't too bad once you get the hang of them, that you have two equations. One has no value, is just the number of coins, and the other one has value, which would always hook up to the dollar sign one. So that one hooks up to the dollar sign one, this one hooks up to the number of coins. They're all pretty similar at first, so you should be able to look back at an example and get these right. So let's multiply the top equation by -5, and we get -5 number of nickels minus 5 number of dimes equals -110. 5 times the number of nickels plus 10 number of dimes equals 135. we add these guys together and we get 5 number of nickels, number of dimes equals 25. The number of dimes is going to equal 5. And we don't want to forget to go back and get the nickels, so we put this in up here. Whoops, I got arrows going everywhere. So the number of nickels plus 5 equals 22. Subtract 5 from both sides, and you get the number of nickels equals 17. So that works. If we add the coins together, we have 5 dimes and 17 nickels. That gives us our 22. And if we took 5 times the nickels plus 10 times the dimes, we should get $100.35. So that is it for coin problems.